Hey Kyle, how's it going?
How about you, Denise?
Pretty good.
Joining for this?
I'm sorry?
Is everyone joining that everybody expected to be here?
Yes and no. So Ginny and Sarah should be here.
Yep.
Christine Balestrini will join us in February. She won't be joining us tonight. We also have a potential new member that Diana connected with, Andrea Lennon, who I don't think will be joining us tonight. She'll be joining in February. That's the team right now. And I think Kathleen and Cynthia will be joining us as well. Very lively bunch this evening. Hi, Andrea. I'm Denise. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
And I'm here. I'm just getting everything ready in the kitchen. So I'm here and listening. And then as soon as I can make my way to my office, I will be.
No problem, Sarah. I know Cynthia's going to be joining us too. So we're going to wait just a minute or two for Cynthia, and actually Ginny should be joining us as well. Hi, this is Denise. Can I ask who just joined us?
It's Cynthia.
Oh, hi, Cynthia. Sorry.
Yeah, the link wasn't working for me on my iPad, so I'll just have to do it by phone, I think. Sorry.
No problem. I think your text just came through, Cynthia. Sorry.
That's okay.
But I think we're all here. So Kyle, I don't know if you want to go ahead and start us up.
I will call the meeting to order. And I think we can get started by maybe going around and doing introductions. I know we have a new member, but why don't we all take a minute to introduce ourselves? I'll start. I'm Kyle Muncie. I work at the university. I'm the director of strategic partnerships, and I'm the interim chair of this. I'm the president of the partnership board of directors, and I'm chipping in to chair these committee meetings here while Emily is out. So I'll pass it off to you, Denise.
So Andrea, I know we've met in other kind of wearing other hats. Here, my name is Denise Kegler. I'm the event coordinator for the Mansfield Downtown Partnership. Welcome aboard and thank you.
I guess I can just introduce myself. I'm Andrea Stever-Lennon. I currently am a paraeducator at Southeast Elementary School, but my experience in town has been between being on the PTO. I had organized a lot of the school events, silent auction, fall carnival, other type of things, as well as being very involved in a lot of the local youth hockey programs, baseball programs. Diana Peltier had asked if I would possibly be interested in helping out. And I said I would look to get involved. And through that, Denise invited me to this meeting.
Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for joining us. Did I say that right? Is it Andrea?
It's Andrea. Yep. Thank you.
Perfect. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm Sarah Dufresne. I work for youth services here in town, and I also live here in town, and I have kiddos. I have a Mansfield middle school kiddo and a preschool little guy. And I'm sure I've seen you at Southeast. I go there sometimes and run programs. So thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
I'm Jenny Walton, and I'm the Mansfield Recycling Coordinator, and have been with this group in some capacity over the years for it being a low waste event. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Cynthia?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
My name is Cynthia Van Zaum. I am the director of the Mansfield Downtown Partnership. And thank you, Andrea, for joining us. And we look forward to working with you.
Kathleen?
Hi, I'm Kathleen Patterson. I'm the Senior Communications Manager for the Mansfield Downtown Partnership. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining. We certainly are always looking for more help. So Denise, any public comment?
No, there is no public comment.
Okay. In the packet, as we move on to agenda item 4, you will find the minutes from the August 25th, September 9th, and September 22nd meetings. If you all want to take a moment to review those, and then I'm happy to take a motion to approve those.
I reviewed those earlier, Kyle, and I can make a motion to approve those.
Fantastic. I will take a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Jenny, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. So the minutes pass. Next agenda item is to review the mission of the Celebrate Mansfield Festival, which was previously updated almost 1 year ago on January 13th, 2021. The mission as it currently reads, the Celebrate Mansfield Festival mission is to host a festival that celebrates the best of Mansfield, including art, music, entertainment, food, games, and activities, while promoting local businesses, organizations, downtown stores, and the University of Connecticut. Do we have any strong feelings, any way, shape, or form, relative to that mission statement? And so happy to open the floor to any. And if there are none, that's fine too, since it was less than a year ago that we did make some adjustments. So in the interest of expediency, go ahead, Denise, what do you got? Denise wants to change the whole thing, I can tell already.
No changes. I just wanted to also put it out there. I just put it on there because I think it's good for us all to think about it before we get into planning. So even if there are no changes, it's just good to read it and keep it in mind.
Yeah, and what I'll add, you know, at the risk of overstepping a little bit relative to sort of the bigger board work relative to the strategic partnership, the strategic plan, excuse me, that the partnership board will be working on and working to implement. You know, obviously, I think there's a lot of question about who we are and who we're supporting relative to the specific downtown, or, you know, as we sort of expanded in the mission statement of the festival last year, a little bit relative to local businesses and organizations, and certainly incorporating the university and, you know, and understanding that obviously in this day and age, reach is easier than it's ever been. So wanting to make sure that we're as inclusive as possible, especially when we're trying to come out of a pandemic, and make sure that we're supporting as many businesses as possible. And certainly, you know, the initial mission being downtown stores focused, but having an understanding that we want to be as inclusive as we can. So anyone else have any? It's perfectly acceptable that we just, go ahead, Jenny.
Well, I'm wondering if one word could be added into it to reflect that there's been this effort to celebrate it in a sustainable way. So because I'm working from home, I can't do the Zoom and look at documents at the same time. So something like celebrate sustainably, or, you know, just, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean, that's what's been done for the past, what is it, 17 years? There's been this real effort to do things in that way. So what do you think of that?
Ginny, could we say something like and to honor Mansfield's commitment to sustainability, since we as a town make a commitment to be a sustainable town and we're part of Sustainable CT?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good.
I'm just trying to think of a way to like tie it in also for when you have to get your points for the
sustainable
just like to say that we actually have a committee that works to honor what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, what the town's doing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about the wordsmithing of it. I mean, that would be fine, but what do you think, Kyle?
Like it, I think because I know one of the things that we talked about at length heading into this year's festival was a little bit more of a concerted effort to socialize those aspects of it far enough in advance to really let to really let folks dig in on that piece of it, to understand that, or to have a better understanding that that is sort of one of the goals is, not simply to celebrate, but to do it sustainably, to do it responsibly. Kathleen?
So I liked Sarah's, sorry, I'm just trying to read and talk and that's not working. I liked Sarah's way of putting that honors the town's commitment to sustainability, because that also allows us to get the town's name into it. So I kind of just tweaked it a little bit and I'll put it in the chat. But one question I had was if we're thinking about the sustainable CT checklist, Jenny, do we need to say something about like inclusivity too? Or so basically what I wrote was host a festival that celebrates the best of Mansfield, including art, music, entertainment, food, games, and activities, semicolon, promotes local businesses, organizations, downtown stores, and the University of Connecticut, semicolon, and honors the town of Mansfield's commitment to sustainability. And then if we wanted, we could say and inclusivity. Or I'm not sure what else is on.
Oh, no, I like that too, because then we're working on our whole like holistic approach of that too. Ooh, Kathleen, you're on a roll.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Kathleen, I just want to say, Kathleen, I had started putting stuff in. I'm sorry I did. Yours is much better.
All I did was change a couple commas.
The only thing I want, just thinking in terms of, I'm just trying to think devil's advocate in term the phrase honors the town's commitment. Almost if something along the lines that works to honor or with a goal to honor. In other words, making it, because I think as we saw, it may not be the goal of all those that want to participate in the festival. They may just participate or support or just to be there. Obviously for others and for those organizing the event, that's, that is a goal. So yeah,
Maybe works with the town of, or yeah.
I guess what I want to make sure is that we in some respects recognize the idea that this has always been a part of what we've been trying to do. So there isn't this interpretation potentially among some of the participants in the past or those considering participating in the future that somehow you can only participate if you're focused on those sustainability issues.
I understand what you're saying, Kyle. I'm trying to think of a way to word it. Sorry, I'm trying to. I'm gonna link here for you guys. So this is,
yeah, and maybe what I would say, I guess what I would say is, and this is certainly not to sort of punt it down the line, but I wonder if, in addition to, us, each of us before the next meeting, taking the opportunity to sort of think about it a little bit, you could also, Jenny, maybe what we can do is revisit some of the ideas that you had last year and that we had talked about in terms of ways to actually show it. And really, and that way, if we have a better idea, especially, when you're in the month of February and all of a sudden you've got an event that's in September or October and you really have an idea of how you want to make sure that you are visibly working to honor the sustainability initiatives of the town, then it really becomes the mission of the event. And we, and we can show some practice. It'd be the kind of thing that, Kathleen, on the website, you can sort of update the mission and also say, hey, never too early to think about the Celebrate Mansfield Festival. While we don't have an exact date picked out yet, or maybe we do, but want to get you thinking about it, and also want to get you thinking about ways for those of you that have participated in the past to participate again and be more sustainable in the way that you do that. You know, what was something that you did last year that you could do differently this year? You know, what are some ideas if you're somebody that attended? Were there some things that you saw that you thought were wasteful? Were there some things that you saw that you thought were really that showed great initiative? And even to get a little bit of feedback from students and other folks that may have participated or attended.
Yeah, I like that idea, Kyle, of really putting intention behind it from the very beginning of planning, so that I think what you're saying is so that there's real substance to that addition, whatever it's going to be in the mission. So, and yeah, I would like to.
And again, I think last year was my first time attending. Everything about it was fantastic, but when I think about it in your terms, right? We had talked about things like, don't hand out pamphlets if you can just put a QR code or put a website address that, instead of having handouts, or instead of, having plastic straws, you have paper straws or paper utensils or things like that. And then I look, and literally every other booth or every booth had, cheapy plastic trinkets, and we were all handing out candy with plastic or pseudo plastic paper wrappers, and like little things that where you're like, okay, well, so maybe we did a good job of, collecting all the plastic bottles and making sure that food utensils were, reusable or were, recyclable, but there are so many other visible ways that where maybe it was like, okay, that, you know what, this is nice and it's welcoming and it's cute, but it's actually just as unsustainable as some of the other things that you really have worked hard to try to make sure that we cut down on. So I don't know what, I don't necessarily know what the answer is to that in terms of like, what's a good candy to give away for kids that, that makes sense. But Kathleen?
I think one thing that as you're discussing that, it's making me remember, we've typically only focused on the sustainable efforts for activity booths, and then kind of backed off on the sponsors because they're funding the event. We haven't really pushed hard on and I think they're probably the ones that are primarily handing out stuff because they're not getting that message as much. And I think a lot of them view it as I'm just going to show up with a booth and hand out my brochure. So I wonder if we want to maybe adjust that approach. And I don't know, Denise, this was part of what you wanted to get into and that nitty gritty on this discussion right now, or do we want to think about it for a future meeting? But that could be one thing that we could maybe start messaging early for those folks who have participated many years. But I can think of a couple of sponsors that just do a pretty basic booth without an activity, but a lot of tchotchkes.
That's a great
I'm
idea,
flexible.
Kathleen. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, the only thing I would say is the sponsors did get the full packet with the sustainability information last year, but it certainly was not emphasized for them. So I think there is ways that we can reevaluate and adjust our approach to sponsor outreach to really initiate this from the very beginning, so that they know going into it that for this event, we're really not looking to hand materials out.
And, toward the end, when it's getting closer to the festival, there's so much information coming in that it could be lost or overlooked. So calling that out at the very beginning does seem, because it is kind of it does seem like it's not something that is necessarily considered in the thinking process of I'm putting together a booth. So what do I need? and to be thinking about it, well, have that planted in one's mind well in advance may help to shift a little bit. Yeah. So.
Well, and we can start with that messaging in like the sponsorship brochure, and we can make it into kind of a fun way that, like, you know, going into our 19th year, and this has been a thing we really want to, you know, help us reach our goals and show off your company at its best, you know, by supporting the town's values and whatnot. And then the website is going to be, I'm going to revamp the website. We're going on to a different platform. So there's like pretty much building it from scratch again, so we can kind of work this message into more places. Right now, it's kind of buried the way that the menu works. It's like under about, but I can make it a little bit more prominent throughout the whole site, not just on the application materials.
That'd be great. As far as the mission statement goes, I mean, I'm happy with like what Denise recommended or Kathleen. I don't really have a preference.
I agree. I mean, I think so. We can. Do we want to? Do we want to table it till the next meeting? See if we can tie in a little bit more relative to the sustainability efforts, and then by then everybody will kind of have had a chance to revisit the mission a little bit, and we can, and then maybe we can sort of move forward on both things at the next meeting. Does that sound reasonable?
Sure.
Okay. Perfect.
Denise, would you be willing to send those iterations of the mission statement to us? Or is there
Yes.
a way for me to save that I from the chat?
There's both, but I can email it out just that you have kind of all three
Okay.
together in one place. Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay, so the next agenda item is to discuss the festival date and time. I apologize, I should have looked at the agenda before I jumped on, because I know last year we made a pretty concerted effort to get an idea from UConn of some potential conflicts as well. So I didn't do any of that. I'll be honest, I don't know. I would assume that they would have some dates, but who the heck knows? They don't even know when the students are actually going to show up for this semester. So, I mean, so I don't know what we know, if we have anything planned for the fall. So do you have ideas in mind, Denise?
Yeah, so based on the recommendation from the RAP meeting, the partnership staff team has discussed keeping it that first weekend in October. That seemed to be from the RAP meeting. Everyone was seemed supportive of that. I think we wouldn't be announcing it for several weeks. I believe Kathleen is the first save the date in March.
Yeah, we've done it in February or March, depending on when people make up their minds, and then also like when I can get the stuff out. We would include it in the event guide for downtown businesses, which I'm trying to get out by the end of the month. But that would be a very well, I shouldn't say downtown businesses, all the businesses. But that wouldn't be like to the general public. We could wait on that.
So that so that brings us to October 1st. And I just wanted to connect with you. I'm sorry, it's really challenging. I don't know if Kathleen is hearing as much of an echo as I am. Normally we're fine. Tonight it's rough. So I just wanted to come to you guys with this. So it would be October 1st if we were to continue with the first week in October, which is continuing a later festival than it had been previously. Last year, we moved this so that we did not conflict with another event in the downtown. So it's more kind of just a general thought. Now that we've had a little more time post wrap session, do you still agree that we should continue with that first weekend in October or return to the September dates? Just getting your thoughts and opinions.
And I don't know how much you try to account for the UConn schedule. I do know that there is a home football game in East Hartford on October 1st. There is not one the following weekend or the 2 previous weekends in September. So the football team's away both of those weekends. So again, not that it's ridiculously significant, but again, I think it really cuts down on things like getting, athletics marketing or mascot or band, or, it takes the band off the table, obviously. So, there's little things like that I think with a football conflict, as opposed to any other athletics conflict that's happening on campus, the soccer or anything like that. So, football would make it I think a little bit challenging to get to try again to get athletics participation, which we tried last year and thought we were in good shape and didn't end up being in good shape anyway. So maybe we don't care, maybe we just move. But the band, I think, is definitely whatever level of band and mascot and cheerleaders and that type of stuff. If we wanted to be creative about that, having it on a Saturday of a home football game would probably eliminate any ability to do that. But I also know you need to set it for a date that allows you to have a rain date the following weekend as well. So, so that's, or at least allows you to have a rain date weekend.
Yeah, that's actually a conversation for not something we have to determine tonight. Before last year, this event had an indoor rain alternative as opposed to a rain date. So the decision whether we want to go, which way we want to go with our rain alternative is actually, I kind of have it on my list for next month's agenda. But what do you think? I just had a question, Kyle. What do you think the likelihood of this football schedule changing, or do you think this is?
It will. It is set in stone. Yeah, that's one of the benefits of the football team. One of the few benefits of them being an independent is that their schedule is set for about the next 7 years. So they got dates locked in. Now again, the stuff pops up, right? But right now their schedule for next season is pretty much set and is on the website. So it's so they've got home games on September 3rd, 10th, October 1st, October 29th. So, it gives a couple good windows there. Those last two, the 17th and the 24th of September, and then the 8th, 15th, and 22nd of October. All 5 of those weekends are the football team is not at home.
And quickly, Denise, just looking at the calendar, that following weekend, that second weekend in October is Indigenous Peoples Day, that Monday. So that actually might mean that a lot of people might be, I don't know if people do that weekend, but college kids might particularly go home. It's just a longer weekend where you might have to keep in mind, it might not be the same amount of foot traffic in our area. I wanted just to speak, and I know you said you'd bring it up to the next one, but I do think that rain date of it being a completely separate weekend, I know for my department, it deterred a lot of people from wanting to participate because they did not want to have to commit to that other weekend. So I don't know. And that's, I can speak just to what I dealt with, was, you know, they had in mind that this first weekend would work, but that second weekend, with it being that Columbus Day weekend, a lot of people had plans. Some people had, you know, were going out of town doing more fall type things. I apologize for my children in the background. Uh, but that was why some people from my team didn't want to commit to it.
Denise, what is the indoor alternative?
So the indoor alternative is E.O. Smith High School, and knock on wood, the festival has never actually used that. They've never had to move to that location. I would actually just jump on what Sarah said. If we're going to talk rain date a little bit, that is what I heard from several people, either that didn't participate or that signed up with sort of the knowledge that if we did have to use the rain date, they couldn't commit to that as well. So we knew we had them for one weekend, not two. I would need to go through the list to pick out exactly how many that were, but there were several instances where it was challenging for them to look at 2 weekends.
Was the thought process for COVID reasons not to go inside? Got it. Okay. Well,
Hi, Cynthia, I'm sorry. Just 2 quick things if I could. So trying to remember, Denise, so Sunday, we decided wasn't an option if it rained on Saturday. And then just on the band, I believe, Denise and Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have had a subset of the Yukon Marching Band when there's been a home football game a couple of years ago.
That was many years ago. I'm trying to remember when that was, but we ran into a problem last year where it was their one weekend off. So even though there wasn't a football game, we couldn't have the band. And also they're having trouble because they, you know, have a lot of students who hadn't played together yet because they were remote. And a lot of people graduated during, you know, COVID. And so, I mean, I like having the band, but I don't think that should be the determining factor. We can try to work them in if it works out. The Sunday, September 25th is the beginning of Rosh Hashanah. So I think we could go on the 24th if we wanted to have it, not when there's a home football game. One thing that might happen is that could be family weekend. They tend to have that when there's no football game. And that's been a good kind of combo for us in the past. The admissions office likes it. Student activities likes it when we have it on a weekend that they have stuff going on for families. But we won't know that schedule for a long time, I think. I mean, we could also in the event guide just put it to be determined. So I don't want it to feel like pressure. If people want to spend some time going over schedules, don't worry about that end on us.
I guess I was thinking October 2nd as the rain day with the festival on the 1st.
Yeah, so what we talked about last year was not having a Sunday rain date because the concert is a later evening now compared to previously when it was Sunday, it was afternoon. We don't have to go that route, but that's what we talked about last year.
I do think that committing to, like others have said, committing to 2 weekends can be very challenging. So if we had an indoor option, if the virus is not, you know, controlling our lives by the fall, that might, you know, could we, I mean, is there an appetite for that, to just go back to the indoor option?
Yeah, my own thought on that would be not to consider COVID in our discussion of that, because so much can happen between now and October. So I would say if we want to plan for inside, let's go for that and not look at health and safety until if we need to closer to the event.
I agree.
Yep, I second that. I think that's the smartest way to go. I think if that's the way it's been done in years past, we just kind of move forward, planning it that way, and we'll adjust accordingly if we need to.
And then and again, I only brought up the football game to bring it up. I don't think it's, I mean, I do think that we should check, to Kathleen's point, I think we should check, because I think trying to find dates where there is something else going on campus can really be beneficial. I think UConn even sort of liked it a little bit last year, where, you know, whether it's open house or family weekend, something along those lines, there being something else to do, I think is that UConn can point to. And again, I think collaboratively it provides some linkage to the downtown. And I thought the vibe at the festival until dark, I thought was pretty good. I thought there were a lot of students there. I thought there was a lot of foot traffic. So I'll segue into, so I think the October 1st and having it that October 1st and then having an indoor option as your pivot for the rain date is great. I do, and again, I only having had one experience, I felt like it ran late. That's just my takeaway. I felt like the last hour was it was still a decent amount of people there, but I just think relative to what the turnout had been the rest of the day, and if you have a band, a good band especially, that really wants to go and really wants to keep performing. And again, I know last year sort of maybe the timing got a little dragged out, but I think we have to account for that in some respect, and maybe just plan for some of those performances to be a little earlier, and for the last performance to be just a little bit earlier. Because I'll be honest with you, by 8:30, 9 o'clock, I don't want to be anywhere near campus where students are at that point. Like, it's just my, that's because I've worked here too long, and that isn't a place that I want to be. And so, I don't know, at 7:30, 8 o'clock, I don't know how many people, and, maybe, as I said, even if it's just an hour shift, it, gets people in and out of there around dinner time, and, and then gets it wrapped up. Plus, there is a lot of work on the back end of it, obviously. We're fortunate to have help, to have a decent amount of help with it. But, if things had run any longer, as I said, just makes for a long day for you guys.
I have a question. This is just, again, being the new person here, not knowing all the ins and outs of the past. But as far as E.O. Smith being the indoor option, have they recently approved that, or was that something in the past? Because being in the schools and having organized a number of events, they've gotten very strict in recent years because of COVID. They've opened up a little bit more this year, but if that's like just kind of been a past plan, you may want to check with them again, because having that much public, or of the public inside their building, they may not be very kind to it at this point in time. So again, if that's a recent approval, fine. But if it was like a plan from years ago, I would recheck that before committing them to it. I would check with them first.
Oh, thank you. That is a great observation and sort of point. The last time that we asked for approval for indoor was 2019. So it definitely was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would just, like I said, before you lock, for us to consider them as an option, you'd want their approval. They've gotten pretty strict.
Okay. So, so I don't know, Denise, if we feel like we need to settle on anything or relative to the date?
So
Or do you want me to try to work and see when we might be able to get some dates from UConn on family weekend and open house and things like that?
yeah, I think based on this conversation, I think it sounds like we do want to try to aim for a date that does have an event, open house or family weekend. So I know we have the event guide. Kathleen, are you sure you're comfortable with a to be determined on that one?
Yeah, I mean, we promote this more than anything else, so I think they'll know. I will hammer it into them once we get it, but yeah, I don't want to hold it up just on that. So for context for everybody, we pre-COVID started doing like an event guide for all of our downtown businesses. And then for the general Mansfield businesses of options for them that they could participate in, that they could sponsor, or that they might see more foot traffic. And so we're trying to get back into it now that even though everything's not 100% back, we thought it was close enough that we could kind of give that to them. So we try to give it to them in January so they can look ahead for the whole year. So it's not just a festival piece, it's got all of our concerts, the bike tour, trick or treat, all that stuff on there. So if this is still work done, I think it'll be okay.
Okay, so I think it sounds like let's take a little bit more time to see if we can find out what those dates are. Kyle, would you like to look into it, or would you like me to follow up with Kara?
No, I can send an email to the folks that I've got that email from last year. So I'll send it to that same group of folks that are in admissions and orientation and all those folks, and that shouldn't be a problem. Already made a
Okay,
note.
great, thank you.
Yep, great. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to discuss planning tasks and divide projects, and that is attached in our packet. Denise, do you want to run through
Yeah,
it?
so yeah, I know I definitely scared some people with this. So the first thing I would say is there's no pressure for anybody to take on these responsibilities. I tried to, at the wrap session, when we were talking about volunteers and sort of that part of the wrap session, the idea came up that the committee could take on more responsibility by like taking a theme, like a project from the festival. So what I tried to do was pull out some of the larger groups of tasks and sort of put together, well, this is what this looks like. These are the different things that we do related to that larger task. But I don't think there's pressure for the committee to take on a full section of this if you don't think you can commit to it. Or we could sort of think of this as a first draft and go through and pull some of it out. So it's a bit of a kind of shrinking each list. I also put myself and Kathleen in there into kind of the larger projects that we know that we always will continue to manage those larger task groups.
Just looking at this and being an area captain last year and kind of learning as I went through it, I wouldn't mind taking on that section and just kind of, building on what we had talked about at our post talk, our post discussion, and kind of just, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. I think that that's a doable thing. I think I know a lot of the area captains that were there that participated last year. And I wouldn't mind taking that on. If that means taking a little off of your your shoulders, I would happily help out with that.
Great, thank you. And I can get you the contacts for last year's area captains and the group that we've had previously, because we did get a few kind of no's who had been for many years area captains. I'll send you those full lists.
And I mean, I think for me, that kind of naturally ties in with the volunteer coordinator. I just might need more help with that as far as like who you use for outreach and such. But most of that just seems like it's a lot of organization and I can handle that. I just might need you guys to just guide me in the right direction as far as, I think last year we definitely had a robust amount of volunteers. So I think if we could kind of stay that on that track, but I do think they kind of go hand in hand because I feel like the area captains are then, in charge of the bulk of those volunteers. So as long as I can get a little hand holding leading into it, I'm pretty confident I can help you guys in those too. And I do have an intern. I officially have an intern. So again, I can assign some of these tasks, which are all really good, fun community building activities.
Sarah, that's a huge help. I mean, if you're comfortable with that, what I can do with all of these, but what I'll do is I can put together kind of all of those previous materials, and maybe you and I can meet separately to talk through what we've done for volunteer outreach and kind of how that has worked in the pre-COVID time, and then what we did last year and how it worked last year. Again, going back to our October discussion, it kind of seemed like we wanted to rethink a little bit. So I think there's some flexibility on exactly how we go forward with the volunteer sign up. But yeah, I can get all those materials together and you and I can meet, kind of plan a time separately to go through all of that. And then throughout the whole process, I'm always here. So I'm always a resource to continue as we're going through planning the event. Thank you though. Huge thank you.
I mean, looking this over, and again, coming in completely blind here, but with the things that and the events I've done, probably volunteer coordinator probably is the one that I would have the most experience in. So if I could work with Sarah, and again, a little bit of hand holding here, but this is something I've done on numerous occasions, is getting the volunteers, assigning positions and things like that.
Sounds like a match made in heaven.
I know, right? Again.
So Kyle, you got everything else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the rest of them. I figured you got this. Yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna keep hiring interns. I'm just gonna have them do it.
As I was gonna say, send them my way. I'll put them to
Not-
work.
You know what? I have 3 interns at least that are starting this semester in the sport management program. So we just have to figure out some way to say that the Celebrate Mansfield Festival is connected to sports, and then I can give them all something to do. That would be great.
Me and you will talk separate though, because I might have some ideas of getting them into do sport activities in the school.
Fantastic. Love
Separate.
it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So Denise, you want everybody to kind of take a little bit, digest, get back to you. Perfect. It's a good takeaway.
Yeah, I think that's the best plan right now. But I will follow up with Andrea and Sarah, and we'll plan kind of a time where the 3 of us can talk through volunteers.
Yep.
Thank you both so much.
Okay, the next agenda item is to brainstorm ideas for activities and entertainment. The plans from last year's event are attached in your packet. Out of respect for the fact that it is 5:50, I just want to make folks aware that we're at 10 minutes from the hour mark. So, again, not knowing whether or not, Denise, this is more kind of a let's get everybody thinking about what we did and thinking about there might be some different things we could do. We could say that you just came up with an amazing festival and we could just run it back again and not make any changes at all. Who knows? Are you getting the funky dogs back, Kathleen? Is that only if the dancer comes with them? That's my only request.
I don't think there's a question about that.
That's my only. Frankly, I don't care what band you get. You just have to get that guy to come and dance.
I think they know who he is.
I think he only follows the funky dogs, but Cynthia was impressed, and she was not impressed easily. I gotta say, she was.
Well, I think one thing I'll just note in terms of like booking, having the date is going to be kind of a key part of that. So we can, kind of talk about what you guys want to do as in terms of like a feel. Last year, we were kind of looking for a majorly celebratory feeling. Because it was like our first real event back since COVID began. The first festival previous to that we had done the new format, we had more of like an Americana blues, like new bluegrass band. So if there's like kind of a feel that you guys want to go in, you know, let me know if there's groups that you've seen that you think might fit. Part of this is also budget driven. We've spent anywhere between 5,000 and 8,000 for the headliner in previous years. The last couple of years we've spent a little less, but it's hard to tell right now because the tour schedule has been kind of just like insane for bands for the last going on 3 years or 2 years at this point. So I think we could probably get a good band. We usually try to pick somebody for the headliner that's a little bit more of like a regional draw, whether they're a national touring group or just more of like a more kind of like New Englandy group. And then the rest of the acts we try to fill in with more Connecticut-based groups. But we can, you know, that's all up for discussion. If you guys want to go in a different direction, now's the time to kind of think about that. And then once we have the budget kind of nailed down and the date, that's when we can really start approaching bands.
Yeah, just to speak to the highlighting the local talent, I really think that was awesome. I think that's definitely something I would love to see when we move forward on this. It was really neat to see, you know, parents of kids in our community up there performing and just to get that real community feel. And I thought that was awesome. And then in regards to kind of everything else, I know that's we've had that almost every year in regards to like having the a cappella groups there, having Kidsville Cuckoo Review, having the magic. I love all of that. I think the Stilts Walker was amazing. So I think if anything, you know, just really find, you know, honing in on a really great band. And Kathleen, you've never failed to deliver on that. So I trust you. And I think the other thing maybe is really high. No, I did not. No, I did not. Hey, you managed to pull that off in a pandemic. I mean, come on. If there's anyone that can do it, it is you.
I have no string.
I think if anything, really just hyping up the craft booths. I think that the ones that were there, people really liked. And, you know, as they walked through, they would talk about just the artisanship of a lot of those booths. So if we can really get that word out there ahead of time, you know, while these people are actually like honing their craft over the summer and, you know, things like that, if we really can just get that up and amped, I think it would be really cool.
On that note, with the arts and crafts, as everyone probably knows, Kim King is at Southeast School and is the Connecticut Teacher of the Year. She does some fantastic art projects with the kids. And even she was doing this wet felting class for some of us. I am sure, like, if I speak to her, once we get a date set, like, I would think that would be pretty awesome if we could have her even do some sort of either demonstration or set up something with the kids that it's the Connecticut State Teacher of the Year. As an idea. So, I mean, I'm not sure because she has alternating days between the other school, but I can mention it to her tomorrow if that's something she's willing to consider. And again, you know, we'll have to get her the date and all that, but like I said, I think that's something she is all about. So if that's something we're interested in.
I think that's great. It's something we kind of had in the back when we were first looking at craft booths, is having the potential to have demonstrations as well as sales. So I think that would be great to kind of have that combination of booth selling crafts as well as demonstration of sort of the creation of felting or the different crafts. So yeah, I think even, you know, great.
Even if it's like, you know, an activity booth and something that then like the kids can do as well, you know, to keep it simple, but not only is it just watching her do it, but that's something that the kids could kind of do with her. So make it interactive.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
All right, I'll speak to her. Like I said, I'll see which days she's in this week, but I'm sure if we, I speak to her, I'm sure she'd be willing to consider it.
Thank you. The what I would say is, because I know we are, as Kyle pointed out, we were kind of short on time, so we're kind of getting to the end of our hour. But what do you guys think about keeping this as the last agenda item for the next 2 months, so that as we're thinking about things, if something comes up in the month that you're like, oh, I have this idea, I want to talk about it with the group, or kind of we can focus on some of the other, outside of the main stage, some of the other entertainment areas, and focus on brainstorming some of those in the next kind of February, March. How does that sound to everybody?
Yeah, that works.
Good.
All right, great.
So I guess with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, Jenny, can I get a second?
I will second Ginny's motion.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. I assume no opposed, although Kathleen, it looks like she wants to stay and meet, but we're,
I can't
we're gonna,
vote.
we're gonna go, Kathleen.
I'm just gonna stay
Well,
here.
thank you, everybody, for your time, and Denise, as always, thank you for
And Kyle, I'll shoot you an email so we can brainstorm.
fantastic.
I
Sounds like,
always love projects.
sounds like a plan. All righty, great.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Have a great night.
Good
Bye now.
night.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.